Let's take a look at replacing the EGR cooler on this Ford 6-liter Powerstroke diesel engine. Now, we've already gone ahead and removed the turbo to do some other work here. So if you're in question about that, refer to our video on how to remove the turbo. But we're getting down close to it. We need to remove the alternator here, and we're also going to remove the intake manifold, which involves releasing some of this piping here, disconnect fuel lines, etc. Once we get the intake off, we're going to go ahead and install a brand new EGR valve on this truck while we're at it. So let's start getting some of the stuff out of here. We'll get down to the intake and you can see how we get the intake out. Alright, so we've got the alternator out of here, disconnected the EGR valve, the throttle body. We've actually removed the 4 bolts holding the throttle body in place. If you look at this throttle body here, this is actually a dummy unit. There is no throttle plate in here. Some of these early 6-liters had that. Later ones, they incorporate the throttle body in there and they close it a little bit to get a little bit of vacuum to help with the EGR flow. This one doesn't have it, so don't be surprised if you pull your throttle body out, there's no throttle plate in there. So then we have to remove the fuel lines off the filter housing here. I'm going to crack this cap open on the oil filter housing. Then we're going to take our T45 Torx bit and remove 4 bolts to pull this housing up out of the way here. Then we're going to go around and disconnect some of these brackets. We've also got the map sensor hose connected to the intake here, and we're going to pull some of these other accessories off, and then we're going to be ready to remove the intake. So we've got the intake out here, and now it's a little easier to see. We've gone ahead and made a couple paint marks here. This is going to indicate when we're putting it back together that we're putting the studs back. A lot of these were just bolt holes, but some of these are where we've got a heat shield or a ground wire for the FICM actually goes on the back here. So we're going to put our studs back in there. Now you can see we've got our new EGR valve. It's just 2 bolts. We'll pop that back up out of there. And then we've got our new cooler here, which is going to be removed by the 1 bolt right here. And then we've got a couple on the underside there. So we'll swap that out. Of course, our new cooler comes with the hardware, gaskets, seals, etc. Now this is going to go over to the oil cooler, and then we're going to have a seal back here as well. That all comes with a new kit. So let's start tearing into that. Swap out this EGR valve in the cooler, and we're going to be ready to install again. All right, so we've got our intake manifold here, and we've got it flipped over upside down. We've cleaned the surfaces, got a gasket installed here, installed the O-ring, installed our special tube that goes into the oil cooler, and you'll see that we've lubricated this quite well. We're now going to be able to install these on here. We'll mount that. The mounting bolts coming up from the other side are going to thread into this cooler. That will hold it in place. Then we're going to go back to the truck, and we're ready to install this manifold with our new cooler back on the truck.